Hey, it's time to chat with the queens again and listen to the spirits of Marie Laveau. Hi, it's Bloody Mary, and my special guest today is Yaya Miranda. We're going to go over women's mysteries, matriarchal magic, and explore when women rule in voodoo. Women's mystery magic is waiting for you, so stay tuned for spell time when we talk about the blood of the moon. Hi, everybody. It's the Bloody Mary Show. Welcome, welcome. And I have a special guest from far away, from Puerto Rico. And introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Miranda. Nice to meet everybody. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. We have an interesting relationship because you are my Yaya godmother.
Yes.
And I am your mother. Well, you're my Yaya godmother in Palo, and I'm your mother in New Orleans voodoo.
Yes,
So
very
very
interesting.
ancestral.
Yeah, but it's
kind
fun.
of twinned sort of our different traditions. I believe that there was a lot of the Congo tradition that came here directly from Africa in New Orleans, and long, long ago when our first slaves were brought here from Africa. The first one seemed to come from Dahomey and that area, modern Benin, where the word voodoo originates. And then later on in the Spanish era, I believe, we had more of the Congo spirits here. And then, of course, after the Haitian Revolution, and a lot of people left Haiti, went to Cuba, then they came here, reinforcing more of the Congo elements and a little bit of the Haitian. So that's kind of the backstory of New Orleans voodoo and the place that I am at, which is inside the cottage of Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau. What you got to say, Marie? She's been talking and we've been getting voices in. Hold on. Kekila. If you have something to say to the Maries, to the Catherines, to the Marguerites, any of them that have something to say, go ahead and talk with us. I hope you knew that anyway, but continue to talk with us today. You have several traditions and titles that you carry. Would you like to share what they are?
Yes, I practice many spiritual traditions that are also African inspired that came to the Caribbean. I practice something called Espiritismo. It's a very ancestral spirit guide kind of religion. And it's very simple but complex at the same time. It's very beautiful. Anybody can be a part of that.
Yes.
I also practice Haitian voodoo. I know it's a little bit different than New Orleans voodoo, but yeah, I practice that. I practice Palo Mayombe. And I also practice Sanse and Santeria, which is basically Yoruba tradition.
And you are, what would the correct term be? You're crowned in Santeria?
I'm crowned in the Yoruba tradition.
Okay.
Santeria is more like it's kind of a slang. That's how people change the name around.
Okay. I know I'm also Mambo Asagwe in Haitian voodoo, and you're kind of supposed to keep your matet private, which is the spirit of the head, which is similar to, I guess, crowning.
Yes.
Are you supposed to keep your tradition private that you are crowned with?
No, you don't have to keep it private. You don't. You can be open about it. You just don't talk about whatever came up in your readings and what came up in your ceremony. Yeah. But yeah, you can say your guardian angel.
So who's your guardian angel?
My guardian angel is Elegbara.
Okay. So Legbara is kind of a combination. Well, it's like a Legba, but not exactly, right?
No, not exactly.
More of an African term, and not Legba, because that would be more Haitian. And it was called Laba here, just to semantics and everything all over the place. So I got Palo, Haitian, New Orleans, and I've always been into spiritualism or spiritism, which is where the word spiritismo came from. who was the French aspect, right?
Yeah.
The French part of spiritualism. And hey, guess what? New Orleans was French. We had the only French spiritualist newspaper in the country at the time. So it was practice here and seances here and here where I am were done in French a lot of times. And they hired, which I think was very interesting, a stenographer who wrote down the minutes and everything that was said at a lot of the seances, which those files still exist, and they are in French. And there's some automatic sketches and writings. And I do the same in my seances. Maybe people write or sketch or do things if they don't have to write in French or Spanish. So most of the Spiritism, where you are and where it is the most known, which is Brazil, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That would, of course, be in Spanish. Do you know if there's a Spiritismo or Spiritism twin in France right now? Currently?
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know if you've heard of Allan Kardec.
Oh, sure, of course.
I'm not sure if that was French or if it was
Yes,
Spanish.
he was French, yes.
It was French?
Yeah, well, I have his picture in my seance from him. Yeah, no, he was French. Everything was written originally in French, then the Spanish adopted it for some reason, and it became huge in Brazil. But it was here, too, at the time. Spiritism and spiritualism, which was very big with Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau. She did what she called voodoo seance and something called a parterre, which means on the ground. And there was a little bit of dancing before they did the spiritism part. And just as an oracle or the medium might have been flat against the wall, sitting in a chair and under a shroud, in some of the more classic seances, you'll see that aspect in the back of some of the sketches and things and descriptions of what was going on here. So I'm very, very happy that you and other people in your house and your spouse and a few others of our brothers and sisters are coming here to do misa inside this place. We've done ghost hunts and readings and seance and research and all kinds of things. So we're going to do a misa. So see if that wakes anything up. It's like a trigger. You know, like if somebody did something similar long ago, if they feel it or hear it, the spirit's kind of, and they might come. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun.
Do you ever consider yourself a medium?
Well, I've been working on that. That is something that not everybody automatically is like completely developed with.
Right, of course not. You never develop, yeah.
But some people, they can see spirit easier. They can hear spirit with ease. Mm-hmm. But I'm still trying to develop by doing misas, by participating in ceremony, by meditating, doing prayers and all that stuff. But maybe one day I will consider myself a pretty good medium, but I'm practicing. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get there.
Well, I think one of the biggest things, at least it is for Americans. I mean, you're American, but you're a little different persuasion being in Puerto Rico and on the island and everything. I think the biggest problem for Americans is trust in themselves.
Yes.
And trust to let the spirit flow and getting rid of their ego. Not like, hey, I'm so great, as much as I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to do something dumb. And because that's still ego. And because they've got that there, they don't realize how much they're blocking. For spirit is always giving information.
Exactly.
And everybody's going to pick it up a little different. It's about both sender and receiver's ability. And, you might look more friendly to them. You might look more sexy than them. There's a lot of reasons why they might want to talk through you. So I think trust sometimes is a big issue, especially for women. They're taught to keep their place and their decorum and, maybe not so much in misa and mediumship, but in the concept of possession when it comes to these alternative religions that, having the spirit actually come through you and talk or dance or do things, people clam back and get afraid of that. Do you find yourself having fear of that?
No, but when I first began learning about these traditions, the first time I experienced someone mounting a spirit or being possessed by a spirit, I kind of freaked out a little bit. It's normal.
Yeah.
It's very
Did you
normal.
run or did you just?
No, but my heart was like beating out of my chest, and I was like, "What is going on?" I didn't know what was going on, but
You weren't prepared a little bit?
no,
Really?
not at all. I was not prepared.
Did they do that intentionally, you think?
I think so.
To make you see how you'd react? And
it was my husband when we were dating and stuff. He planned out. This was in Palo. That the first spirit that I saw mounted in a person was in the Palo tradition, and he mounted the spirit. But he didn't tell me what was going to go on or anything. It just happened. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
I don't usually do it the other way around, but it's possible.
Yeah, I say that he mounted the spirit, but yeah, it is. It can be either way. But
so for those of you that don't know that, this is something that is desired in religions like Voodoo and Yoruba and Palo. This is not something that you don't want to happen. You do want it to happen. You don't want to fear it. You want it to come through, hopefully, gracefully, so that you're sharing with the spirit. The spirit's giving you information, and you're letting them use you as the horse, as they say it in Voodoo, right? Tell my horse. So this is something that is wanted. So it's not like Linda Blair. Okay. So, you know, even though it can be aggressive and it can look forceful, and people do like throw them, men especially, I find. Just
more
like
clumsy.
It's a little bit around more clumsy. The walls and crap. What?
It's a little bit more clumsy.
I mean, I've seen some, it's like they're going to bust the joint up, throwing themselves against the wall and on the floor. There could be what they call a possession crisis when the people are, you know, trying to push it away and it's trying to get through. But it is something that I say that most people will give you a little warning about, so that you can not fear it. And you definitely probably are better seeing it before it happens to you, you know, so that you know that it's the norm. And more importantly, so you know that other people are there to protect you.
Exactly.
Calm you, bring you back, whatever. So these things are important to know. And there's always ways to step back so it doesn't come. One of the ways that we were told was to like braid your hair. Were you told that?
No.
Like, you know how you're not supposed to cross anything when you're trying to do spirit things? So cross it. If you don't want to be possessed, you braid your hair. So the neophytes that first come in, we braid their hair to try to slow down processes like that until they're ready.
Well, so that's interesting.
I've never heard of that. If you do want to be possessed, make sure there's no knots or braids in your hair. So, I mean, it's a little something I learned. Not a secret. There are many things that are secret that we can't say, but that's not a secret. It's just helpful to the people who are trying to learn, so they don't have something happen so quickly that they get afraid, you know, and they block it. But in general, spirits will possess male or female. It doesn't seem that they care if it's a female spirit only wants to mount a female. I mean, it can go either way. And I don't mean that sexually. You can go anything. But, you know, it is something that you want. And it's just a slightly more dramatic version than a medium who is sitting and a spirit comes through them.
Yes, most of the time it's very beautiful encounter because you're having a direct communication with the spirit, and you can ask questions and receive an immediate response. And most of the time it's a very beautiful experience.
You're talking about Misa or possession?
Possession in general. It doesn't matter.
I've seen some pretty wild ones, but it is nice that you can get that boon, that wish, that answer, that healing, whatever it may be that people are asking and getting. If it gets to that point that you're fully possessed and the person gets his food, and you know, so that is something that you can see in a public ritual, even if you're not an initiated priest or priestess. If you're invited to the ritual, you may see that. So that's not a secret that happens. So that happened here a lot in the building that used to be here. I am at 1022 St. Anne Street, out over the whole home. I'm at 1022 St. Anne at the old homestead of Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau, where 5 or even more generations of Laveau were born and raised and even died. So we hope to wake up through the power of the soil and everything that was embedded here, because I am truly believing that whatever happens in a place stays in a place. But one thing, the most unique about New Orleans voodoo, which isn't matched in any of the other areas, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is that it was the most matriarchal voodoo out of all of them. Historically, it was shown to be about 80% female. And here it was the queen, the mama loy, the spirit who was the spiritual leader. So Marie Laveau, the male part was her consort. Her husband might have been there for strength or balance. It wasn't talked about as much, even though there could have been a king. You know, he was more of a consort as opposed to, you know, the active spiritual leader. So, and passed down from her grandmother and her mother and to her daughter and to many other women that were out there, was very, very matriarchal. Now, you come from a Hispanic background. Where were you born?
Well, I was born in New York, but we moved to Florida when I was very little. And in 1998, we moved to Puerto Rico. So I've been here most of my life.
In Puerto Rico?
In Puerto Rico.
Now, Puerto Rico, is it as far as Hispanic communities are concerned, it is not a secret nor an insult to say that, you know, there's a lot of machismo running through it, right?
Yes, yes.
I don't know if Puerto Rico has an incredible history of that. I know Cuba certainly does, and a few other places. Puerto Rico?
It has. Yeah, it has its history. It still happens in modern day. I think it's something that's gonna probably be here to stay for a long time. I don't think it's ever gonna be completely like eradicated or, you know, leveled out.
Or
yeah,
you don't think equal balance will ever occur between male and female?
I would love that, but I don't know if you know, society is gonna help with that. I hope so. I really hope so.
Allegedly, in ancient times, there was once a goddess-centric world and religion. I don't think that's why New Orleans was. I think it has to do with the spirit of place and the river and the flow. And it has to do with the strength of the female here in the area. In New Orleans voodoo, and probably even a bit Haitian voodoo, but in New Orleans voodoo, it was definitely more woman, female-oriented, matriarchal. In Haitian, I don't know, maybe balanced. As a priestess, do you feel ever that your gender has anything to do with certain things that you can do and you can't do? How would you feel that being a female is affected by some of the religions that are you in? Are there some things that, let's say, women's mysteries that you can do that men can't? Or is there only things that men can do and women can't?
Yes, there is a few ceremonies that exist that only female are they're the only ones that can work that.
Okay.
And the men cannot. And there's ceremonies where only men can work it and women cannot. So there's a little bit of a balance there.
Okay, that's good. And that's in which traditions? That's in the...
There's Engungun. That's more like Orisha work and all that stuff. And
that's more male, though, right?
Yeah, Engungun's for male.
Yeah.
Yes, and Gelede is for women. And only women can have that ceremony done.
Okay.
I know Apollo, everyone, male and female, can get most of the ceremonies done equally. There might be one that's strictly for men, but I can answer that maybe in another time. But
I don't need to know the rituals. I just, in the fact that we know that I always explain that wherever voodoo landed, it would absorb the needs and the spirit of place. And for example, this was the river and flowing and very matriarchal. There were a lot of female rights that were here before the rest of the country. But for example, when different tribes landed in Cuba, it was a more male-dominated society, and they are the leaders. And there are certain levels that women just can't make it to until they're like me, which brings us to the female anatomy and problems. So it's how do we put this that the sponsors, which we don't have, won't be offended? From the beginning of time, you have read how women were separated from certain rituals if it was their time of the month. Back in the old days, many people would say, that it would disrupt the spiritual energy of the thing. Now, goddess-centric religions would say, no, it's because she was more empowered at that time, and they didn't want her to get in there, so they didn't want her to have more power, so they took it away. Then there's the horrors of things in Africa that are still going on, like women pushed into menstrual huts, where they're locked away and where they're actually they're raped a lot. So there's a lot of problems about this segregation out of an unclean times. And what I'm going to joke as Shark Week, right? That you're this bloody, woman or whatnot. So I know that there are certain people, certain rituals, certain times that even if I was going to invite someone over with a group or whatever, if they were having their period, I couldn't let them in. It's just to keep them separated out. I don't know if at the time, but now because I'm over a certain age and I don't do that anymore, then I can do things that I couldn't do when I did bleed. So what does that mean? Does that mean I'm a man now? What does that mean?
No.
But now that I don't have that, I can do all these things that I couldn't do before. What is that saying about the female? What do you think about that?
Well, there's a lot of misunderstanding with that. I know a lot of people can feel, offended by all those things. But when you're in a cycle, you are losing some energy. You're self-cleaning. Your womb is cleaning out old energy and a whole lot of other things. In general, women don't feel well when they're on their cycle.
Well, that's what I used to joke, because they said it was a woman in Palo that said that you couldn't be on your period when you're in there. I said, she wanted the week off. Why not? She wanted the week off. She was in charge. Go for it, girl.
Who knows? That has a deeper, that goes very deep.
I'm sure it does. There's more than one reason for everything. I don't, I'm not trying to divulge secrets, but from an outsider, those types of things and other taboos are like, really? Why? And then now that I don't have that, I can get in the club.
Yeah, because
I can do certain things we couldn't do before, which is both fine because I'm already at that age and also weird at the same time.
No, you're not weird. But it is important to understand that, like I said, you're losing a lot of energy when you're on your cycle. Good or bad energy. And when you work with certain spirits, they need your energy to be able to work with you. So if you're losing energy and you're working with these spirits that
you're run down,
that demand energy, they're going to drain you. And not intentionally. It's because that's how
you're already weakened to begin with.
Exactly.
Me personally, when I deal with spirits, whether it's ghosts, ghost hunting, or voodoo and spirit work, I actually get energized from them during it. I guess it's reciprocal or transformational. Other people like, whoa, I'm so wiped out. It's like, not me. I am, I got all this energy now that I didn't maybe have before, but I do know other people that are wiped out.
Yes.
So on that note, you probably shouldn't do certain rituals when you're sick either, just sick with the flu or COVID. You probably also shouldn't be there then, right?
No, and it's all for your own good. It's you're protecting your energy because that's a time of rest to heal. And
what about when you're pregnant?
When you're pregnant, there's certain things that you can do, but there's
other things.
No. No, you can work and you can have certain ceremonies done
Yeah.
actually, but
You're
obviously
2 for 1.
it also depends.
Does the
Huh?
baby get initiated with you? I said you get a 2 for 1 if you're doing
It can
certain
happen.
ceremonies. Yeah, I mean,
It
I
can
would think it
happen.
would, right?
Yeah. It has to be finished after a certain age after they're born,
Right.
but it is possible to get that first step in there.
So did you get a first step from anybody in your family before you knew about it when you were very young, like in
No,
utero?
no, not
What
at
about
all.
a generation or 2 generations before? Had they practiced the older religions that you
Nope,
know of?
nope. I've asked this question before,
Right.
but nobody tells me absolutely anything. And I'm I'm actually the first one. I believe that I'm the first one that's,
Well, what
embarking.
about, let's say, 100, 200 years ago in the time?
Maybe it could be, but that goes a little bit too far back. Maybe one day I'll find out.
No, I was just curious because I know a lot of people now, right now, you are helping raise 2 stepdaughters
Yes.
who have been exposed to this tradition since birth, correct?
Yes.
So, how long have you been ritualizing with them?
Well, I've been about 5 years, 4 or 5 years. I've been helping my husband out with exposing, the traditions to our girls, and yeah, it's
You seem
been
very young. Some people do start this very, very young.
yes,
Like your
yes.
husband says he was forced into it when he didn't want to with his grandma.
Yeah, he because he was
Spiritismo.
scared. He was a kid and he was scared. And I think everybody starts out like that. You don't know. It's the unknown. So once you get used to it and you start studying and you start practicing, everything starts to turn around in a different light.
So, what was one thing that you were surprised about after initiating into these religions that helped you become a better person, to feel more empowered about yourself? Like, what was a really good thing, the best thing, okay, that you say happened? Unless it's a secret. I mean, what
No,
is
no,
it?
it's not a secret.
Okay.
Well, one of the reasons basically that I decided to practice different traditions was because of my health.
Okay.
I came into it fully because I wanted to feel better physically, mentally, spiritually. And the most amazing thing happened by feeling like spirit healed me in many aspects.
Good.
That's what really helped me really be completely amazed and passionate about continuing being working the tradition. So
So you got a both mind, body, and soul, like it gave you some energy to feel good about yourself, but it also physically healed you.
yes, because ever since I was little, I've battled a few health conditions. Nothing too serious, but there's some things that I developed when I was a child that
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to live with that for the rest of my life. And it's a rare disease. And when I started practicing spirituality and learning and having all these ceremonies done to myself, um, that that disease literally
Uplifted. Yeah.
the disease literally went into remission, and it's a disease that doesn't go into remission. So I almost feel like I don't have it anymore. It's been so long and it's unbelievable. And
Well,
I
I'm
think about it all
glad
the time.
glad to hear that, and that's a really very concrete reason for wanting to continue to see physical results. So many religions are just, have faith, have faith, have faith.
Yeah.
But some of these religions are so very physical, demanding and sweating and dancing and moving. I mean, there's a lot of work to do in these rituals, in
Hmm.
these religions. It's not just go to mass and then leave.
Exactly.
You brought up Catholic?
Yes, but I was baptized only. We didn't like practice or go to mass or like.
You didn't have to do all that?
Nope. I was never brought up in a specific religion. I was the one that did the experimenting like on my own.
Well, I do know that Puerto Rico, maybe not as much as some islands, is also still very Catholic though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
as New Orleans is in her own weird way. As I said, my mama used to be a St. Joseph nun before she married my dad. So I was brought up very Catholic, and I had a lot of headbutting with the Catholic Church, I think in more lives than one, but especially in this one. And I always needed to know why, more about the spirit encounters than the physical, healings. I have felt that my psychic abilities developed better, during it, or it became focused and streamlined. But I was able to heal others and have that faith. And through people like Marie Laveau, I would go to her tomb every day. I would bring people petitions and rituals, and I would do my own healings and her healings. And so I'm really happy to be in her place where she had lines around the block to do any extra healings or connections here. And it's a very important part of her life. I sit here and I listen to, and embarrassingly so, the hysterical and ridiculous lies that people say outside, tours that come, that they're still just, no matter what, just still making up more and more and more about her when there is some hard evidence out about her, but they'll still talk about the crazy stuff, the silly stuff, the zombie, American Horror Story, all that is the reality and the intensity of her healing and how good she was at that and her psychic abilities. She's known as the Popess of Voodoo. So I'm getting a lot of information about many of her children, her mother, her grandmother. A lot of spirits are wanting to come through, and a lot of them are women. So that's why I'm focusing on women. And so I asked you, I think the most empowering and incredible reason, I guess, that you found through that. What's the scariest thing? Was there a scary thing?
I haven't experienced nothing extremely scary yet.
Okay.
But like I did say in the beginning, you freak out because you don't know what's going on.
Right.
And then
you
get
scared
used to
because of the possession kind of aspect. Yeah.
I think that's the most scariest part when you're starting out. But now, since I've been in this for, a lot of years already, I'm used to it and it's beautiful. But we do go through the same thing, more or less. I think every religion goes through the myths and people
stereotypes. The myths and the stereotype. Yeah. Okay. So what did you hear or fear the most before you got into the religion that made you want to step back? Like what lie did you hear that, or encounter that people still hear or think?
Well, the most common lie, I think every religion that is outside of the normal, outside of Christianity, they always put the label of we worship the devil and all that stuff.
That's who I was. I'm separating out an entire section because it's just too much to say about that dude. And I'm going to make a separate documentary. So here's my special question. Who is the devil?
I would answer.
According to Miranda, who is the devil?
I do not believe in the devil because I think this is controversial. I don't want to get in trouble for this.
You shouldn't get in trouble. Why? Everybody's going to have it. I'm going to ask 500 people. You know how many different things I'm going to get? I asked my son. He said it was Ronald Reagan. So go ahead and say it. And I'm going to ask them, who is the devil? Because
I
will, because I want to make a whole separate thing on who the hell is this guy. All right. It's just not somewhere that I wanted to go in researching this book. but I think it's almost remiss if I don't. I wasn't thinking about that because I just roll my eyes and get pissed off when people say things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, it really needs to be addressed, I think, to be, why is any religion that's not your religion, whoever you are, the devil?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that will get us blamed. So is the darkness, darkness to some is somebody who uses a damn Ouija board, right?
Mm-hmm.
That can be blamed for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Tarot cards. It has this big old chicken foot. Whatever it is that you could say is the darkness. But there was something about the devil I wanted to say, and he made me forget it. Damn it. Damn, dude. But yeah, the devil certainly gets around, and he's, I don't know, he has the ability, the spirits that are in hell seem to be able to get in and out really easily. The demons, they're everywhere, right? You're going to run into them. There's a demon, hashtag it's a demon. But the people in heaven, they're like locked in. They don't get out and come around. I mean, you hear about your grandma coming and picking you up at the end and bringing you to the other side. But allegedly, the only spirit is the Holy Spirit. So no other spirit can be true. But all the demons and all the people in hell, they can get around. But the one, whoever made these rules, they got to be rewritten.
Yeah.
Rewritten. And
That's
religions
great.
need to be a little more tolerant of other people's belief system. And we need to, all religions could be one if they tried, but that's not going to make the right people up at the top retain all the power that they want.
Exactly. That's what it's all about, power.
Politics sucks, and it's in every religion, even the smaller alternative religions like you and I are in. From house to house, yes, there are political and magical wars and issues between people, just like they are between neighbors, between cities, between neighbors, between countries. I don't think the devil is behind it either.
Me neither. Yeah,
So
I think we need to take responsibility for our own actions, right?
It's like that. I'm not going to take responsibility. I'm going to have someone else do it, and I could just blow it off at the end. Oh, the devil made me do it. That is not what you got to say, Marie. Come join us live in person for the Voodoo Salon Talks, 3 p.m. on Sunday, August 20th, and book readings with us as well. The Tata, the Yaya, the Mambo, and more. Q&A, the Voodoo Salon. We're going to have a little roundtable discussion about Palo and Voodoo and all the at my haunted museum. And we're going to do a misa with some friends and family, not with the public, but we are going to let that be filmed so that people can see what a misa is like. It's just a slightly different form of a seance than, let's say, I do or that was done here, but I think it'll be recognized, give or take the French language. I try to throw a few words in there. I don't know if the devil will come, but if the lightning strike comes through the window, I will just clear a path and empower something through it. But I don't feel that we're ever doing anything but to help heal and spread information and light knowledge to each other. And that's what Marie Laveau tried to do in life. She was an incredible healer. She worked on reform, prison reform, and probably women's reform, all sorts of things. But she was a very empowered matriarch who lived in a really rough time with the highest mortality rate, with plagues and wars and pestilence and problems. If anything, Marie Laveau is a survivor and a patron saint, so she should be looked at for strength. And so, Yali, Mamselle Marie, for the strength for all of us, so mote it be. And we are going to close the way and thank the spirits and our lovely friend from across the way that came to share a little bit of her tradition today. Is there any form of spirit closing statement that you would like to tell the people out there as a woman, as a priestess, that you would share to those that are wanting to join at this kind of religion, but are
Okay.
afraid or don't really know? Is there something that you would counsel to say to them to help them decide?
Wow. That's a very important subject because a lot of people fall in the wrong hands.
Ah,
And
there is that.
unfortunately,
Yes.
it can kind of mess up your life. But what I would say is that you really have to analyze and study the people that you're gonna,
Yeah. No,
you know,
you're right. I was thinking more just the religion, but now you're talking about the actual group that you get
yes,
involved with. Make sure they're sincere, make sure they're trustworthy, make sure there's no sexual predators in it, because there's a lot of
exactly.
that out there that isn't talked about. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not as much now, but there was 20, 30 years ago. You still think it is?
Yes,
Yes. Basically, what I'm hearing is you should go, everybody's saying, oh, you shouldn't go look at rituals or do anything until you initiate it. It's like, absolutely not. You need to know what you're getting yourself into.
you
You need to
do.
study the history and the religion, and then you need to meet different groups and people to see where you fit in. You don't just jump in right away because
No, you don't.
it takes research and study. And even if it's not someone out to get you, you have to be comfortable with the people that you're going to be in religion with, in ceremony and ritual.
Yes, you need to trust the person. Because these people are going to be your leader, your guide. They're going to be the ones that have to teach you. So you need
and
to make
yeah,
sure.
and have your back. And if you are afraid of, let's say, like what we said, like, oh, what happens if a spirit comes in and it's too aggressive a possession? You want to be able to trust all these people. If there's a moment sometimes that you don't remember, right?
Yes.
What's going on if you're taken
Mhm.
by spirit. Most people are not supposed to remember. Some I remember. You want to know that everybody else has got your back and not there to
Yes.
harm you. Yeah, no, I forgot all about that. That's a very important aspect, not just about, do I want to go into this religion, but who am I going into this religion with?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a pro
That's
for the
really.
family, approach, because they've already tested the waters for you.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, that's a very good and important thing to
So
put out
I was
there.
lucky when it comes to that subject. Since my family wasn't in this religion, they
Right,
didn't bring me up in this. I was the one that went out there and felt like there was like a calling for me to
right.
go and experiment in this and study and see if it was for me. And I was lucky enough to find people that were sincere, that made me feel safe, that had the knowledge and wanted to help me. So I
I
just,
have heard about certain people that are constantly, taking advantage of women, especially
yes,
wanting them
that is a huge
constantly to strip
problem.
down in front of them and to do other things that are demeaning in order to show their, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard stories actually from people that initiated long ago in the 70s and 80s on how bad it was, and then how it still can be that way again. So yeah, I mean, none of that's necessary for spirit work. Don't let people tell you those kinds of things, right? I mean,
Yes,
it should
it
be.
still happens, and that's another thing that
So
it's
you
going to be
got
a little
lucky,
bit
but you
hard.
know others who weren't so lucky?
Huh? What was that?
I said you got lucky, but do you know others that weren't so lucky? Then you've heard stories.
Yes, I've heard horror stories and people almost becoming completely discouraged and not coming into the practice.
But as we know, every single religion that exists, there's good priests, bad priests that want to use their level to their advantage for their ego, for their sexual, yeah. People that should not be in power, that try to get power by taking it from others and subservient. Yeah, people get into things for the wrong reasons sometimes. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It
going
is
to,
not about power. It's about balance. Everybody has their own role. The women have their role. The men have their own role. And it's a teamwork. It's not who's up here and who's down here. It's equal. So we
Or
need to spread that more.
It's supposed to be. Yeah.
Supposed to be.
It's very hard. There's a lot of there's just a lot of humans out there who do things for the wrong reason, and that infiltrates obviously in every avenue of society, from politics to religion to the corner store. You have to know who you are and be strong in who you are, and trust your gut. Trust your psychic abilities and your intuitiveness, even if you don't think you have it. You do.
Yeah, everyone has it.
Yeah, so, when you know somebody and you meet somebody and you just know they're full of shit, or you feel apprehensible. I mean, and I tell people this all the time, use that same knowledge with spirits too. Don't be afraid of a ghost. Use the same way, how do I know if they're good or bad? It's like, how do you know I am? How do you know this person is? Use your gut. And yes, these religions and many will help you develop that side of you, but know who you are in spirit on this physical plane, and then the right things should come your way. And hopefully the religion can make that happen. So thank you so much, Miranda. We're looking forward to seeing you here. And I'm sure the Maries, who I see kind of standing in the background being very formal like this, are waiting to see you too and wanting to be a part of the Misa. And we're going to film some of it or a lot of it for all of you out there. So the Bloody Mary Show is closing right now. And we'll talk to all of you again soon. Remember, at Bloody Mary New Orleans on YouTube, and I'm Bloody Mary Nola on TikTok. Thank you so much. Well, it's spell time with Bloody Mary. And the number one reason people call you and come is for love. There's the classics, Rose for love. But Rosemary should be your friend. If you're having an argument, it helps cement relationship cracks. Throw it on the ground and walk right through it. But then there's blood mysteries. Yes, menstrual blood. 9 drops of menstrual blood that you put inside things that might be ingested. Or you could put it in your love potions to anoint. Use that menstrual blood in many ways. It is for your empowerment, not just for control, but to maintain your matriarchal magic. Menstrual blood. Don't leave home without it.